Hello, divas. I just went through the video that I just recorded that you're going to see here shortly and realized that I had lipstick on my teeth the whole video. Yeah, it was great. Shining moment in my life. Shining moment. Yeah. So when you see the video and you're like, Heather, something's on your teeth. Yeah, it was lipstick. It's like happened twice in my life. And it's been like the last 6 months, both of them. Never had lipstick on my teeth ever. Until the end of 2018, the beginning of 2019. And one of them is in a video. Great. Way to go, Heather. You're awesome. Enjoy the video. Bye. Good afternoon, divas, and welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, welcome. This is Diva Tested, Diva Approved, where I'm going to give you my opinion no matter what. So today I wanted to talk about my career path, the path that I've taken to get to where I'm at in life, because lots of people always ask me this, and why not share like my thoughts, my opinions, and maybe it'll help some of these young folks who are just graduating college or people who are just finishing high school, maybe in May or June of this year, kind of help them prepare, their way on their career path and maybe answer a few questions for you along the way. So let's get into it. So my degree is in elementary education with a kindergarten endorsement, and you're like, what? Yeah, my degree is in elementary education. So my license in the state of Indiana, where I live and where I took my testing to get my teaching license, I can teach first grade through sixth grade and seventh and eighth grade if it's non-departmentalized, which means if you're not just teaching science or you're not just teaching English or math. And I can also teach kindergarten or early childhood education, so preschool. So basically I could teach birth all the way up through eighth grade. But I don't do that. I actually work for an international nonprofit, and you're like, but you have an education degree. Yes, and I taught school for 11 years, to think about that. And somewhere in there, I just kind of figured out that it wasn't what I wanted to do. And that's really hard when you've worked 4 years on a degree and you've put all these years into this one career, and then you decide that you don't like it anymore. Because I was raised with the mindset, or maybe I adopted the mindset, that if I had a degree in something, that was going to be my career for the rest of my life until the day I retired. And slowly but surely, I figured out that just because I have a degree in something didn't mean that I had to stick with that career for the rest of my life. So I just decided that I didn't want to be a teacher anymore. Because when I would pull into the parking lot, I would cry every day. Yes. Every day I would cry like, oh, I do not want to go. I don't want to be there. And it wasn't the students. I just didn't want to be a teacher anymore. Plain and simple. I did not enjoy it. And I didn't want to be that person. And I worked with a lot of teachers. I didn't want to be that person that woke up when they were 65 and realized that they'd spent their whole life doing something they didn't really enjoy, and they were just doing it because that was their degree. So I was like, peace out. I'm going to find something else to do. And that's really scary, because only thing that I knew, that I thought that I knew, was teaching. And I was like, what's going to happen? But I kind of made a pact with myself that I would apply for jobs, and if I couldn't find something, because I had a little bit of money coming in, because teachers were paid, or depends on the school district, I was being paid through the summer. So I knew that I had money coming in through the summer. So I made a pact with myself that, okay, you have to buckle down. You've got to find a job. If you don't find a job by you know, your last 2 paychecks, then you're going to take a job at like Starbucks or Subway or Walmart or all three or something just to pay the bills until you can find something that you really want to do. So I had about 2.5 months, 3 months or so to find a job before I had no paychecks coming in. So I really just started looking at all the things that I like to do. I liked working for youth. I did not want to be a teacher. I like to organize things. I liked organizing curriculum. I liked finding the holes in curriculum. And I thought certainly there's somewhere some corporation could use my knowledge. So I just started applying at different places. It's really strange how I actually got connected to the nonprofit that I work for. I have lived on this side of town now for 13 years, 14 years, quite a while. And at that time, I had lived up here, I think, for 4.5 years. And every day I would drive, almost every day, I would drive by the office where I work now and never paid really that much attention. And right after I decided like I was not going to teach anymore, I'm driving home one night, I missed my exit and had to take the next exit. The next exit is where our office is at. And I looked over and they were doing construction on our building. And I was like, I wonder what they do there. I'm going to go home and look it up. And I went home and I looked it up and they had jobs open. And I was like, wow, they wanted somebody with an education degree or education background. And the things like really clicked. So I applied. Now the first job I applied for, I did not get. It came down between me and another person. I did not get that job. Probably a good thing that I didn't get that job because another job opened up. They called me for an interview. I'm not even sure if they interviewed anybody else. They interviewed me. They're like, we really like you. They called me back and they offered me the job. So I got the job in the end of June and I started in the middle of July. So plenty of time before my checks ran out. Yeah. But I had a plan that if I didn't find a job, that I seriously was like, if you had to work at Starbucks, I had actually applied at Starbucks. I had applied at a shoe store. I was like, just as long as I'm bringing in enough money to pay my bills, I was going to be okay until I figure out what I wanted to do. But thankfully, I did get a job in plenty of time. So this kind of brings me to things that I've come to realize in the last 11 years that I've been out of education. That if you are probably under 30 or probably even 45, you probably, especially if you're under 30, you will probably have 2 or more careers in your lifetime. So, when our grandparents, even some of our parents, our great-grandparents, they had maybe they graduated from high school and they went right to the workforce and they went to work for Delta Faucet and they worked for Delta Faucet until the day they retired at 65 or 67, whenever they decided to retire. That isn't happening anymore, or it doesn't happen as much. People don't stay in the same careers. So when I say that, if you're under 30, you may have 2 or more careers in your lifetime. That's really feasible, and it's true, because some of the jobs that people have now, like social media managers or mobile app developers, those weren't even jobs 25 years ago. I mean, who thought 25 years ago that you would have a job where you would sit and write content all day and find photos and things like that to link people from all over the world to your website, to your organization, to a corporation? No one knew that was even going to be a job. And if you're in high school or if you're in middle school right now, there are jobs that you're going to have that no one even knows exist. Like, they aren't even thought of right now, because that's how quickly the workforce in the world is changing. So put yourself in this little box and pigeonhole yourself like, oh, I'm going to be a teacher and this is my education, this is my path for the rest of my life, is like crazy now because the world is changing so fast that, a career that you may end up having 30 years from now isn't a career that's even thought of right now. So I think that's really important, just keep your options open, because the world, careers, the workforce, work paths are changing so quickly. I'm looking at my notes here. People are like, but I've already finished my degree, or I'm going to finish my degree in May or June, and I don't want this degree. Like, I'm not going to use this degree. What do I do? Look at your strengths. Look at the things that you really like doing. Is there a part of that job of that degree, the career path that you've chosen that you really like? Maybe, I'm just going to use education as an example because it's something that I really know. I liked organizing. I was good at that. I could write things really well. I loved finding the holes in things and things that didn't align. And those were strengths that I could give and like show people, like, oh, I helped to align this curriculum and do these things. Or I helped organize Making Strides Against Cancer walk, and I did this for like 3 years. So I had a team, like I organized a team of 50 people and managed all the money that was coming in and the t-shirts and all the things, all the skills that I could really show an employer or a potential employer, the things that I could do, anything that you could show them in numbers makes a big impression upon people. So you can't just like, well, I organized this. No, I organized a group of 50 people in an annual walk, and the more that you can show them in quantities, the better, because then they see it. Or maybe you were in a fraternity or sorority and you were the social chair and you planned events for 150 people, or you were the fundraising chair for your service organization and you were the fundraising chair for 2 years, and each year the amount of fundraising that was done increased by 20%. Like anytime that you can show growth, that makes a big difference to an employer. So if you can show quantity growth on a resume, on a CV, like that means a lot to an employer. So like showing your marketable skills. I'm gonna say this, and people are like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you're gonna say this." But I'm gonna say this: if you are in high school right now, and you don't think you want to go to college, or you don't know what you want to do in college, or you're like, I just don't know if college is for me, that's okay. That's okay, because college isn't for everybody. If you're like, I think I might want to go to college, but I don't know what I want to do, fine. Like, enroll in a community college. Community college, live at home. I know you might not want to. Live at home, it's cheap. You can take some classes, kind of figure out what you like to do. Get good grades in those classes. Make sure that you go to a community college where you can get, courses that will, if you decide to, transfer to a larger university or a larger college, that those credits will transfer. Most of the times they will. You won't have any problem. But just go in and talk to the dean of like academic enrollment, or academics, and like, hey, I'm not really sure what I want to do now, but eventually I might want to enroll, transfer after 2 years to a bigger university. How hard is it for my credits to transfer? So like, just have that conversation up front. If you're like, I don't want to go to college, and I know I don't want to go to college, that's okay. Because like I said, college isn't for everybody, and there are so many things, so many jobs out there that don't need a college degree. If you love working with your hands, you love fixing cars, go to an apprenticeship program, a trade school. Like, get out there, get that experience. Maybe you have a mentor who is a mechanic. and they're going to like take you under their wing and they're going to teach you everything. That's great, because apprenticeship programs are a great way to like realize like, do I really want to do this or not? Like, you get that experience under your belt. You can go get some classes at a trade school, technical school. We're always going to need mechanics. Like, we're always going to have cars in some capacity. We're going to need people to fix them. Go learn to do it. Make some good money. There's nothing wrong not going to college. You know, one of the biggest jobs and something we're always going to need are plumbers. Plumbers can make 6 figures, and you're like, mind blown. Plumbers can make 6 figures. Do they make 6 figures like right after they finish their apprenticeship, their plumbing education? No, they don't. It takes a while, but they can make up to 6 figures. So that's a lot of money. They can make as much they can make $100,000 in a year, US dollars, because we're always going to need plumbers. You know, somebody's always going to have a blocked sink, blocked toilet, you know, all those things. And if you're willing to get in there and get dirty, well, you can make some good money. There's nothing wrong with being a plumber, because they make really good money. Like, a lot of good money. There's nothing wrong with being a plumber. There's nothing wrong with being a mechanic. There's nothing wrong with being an HVAC installer. I know there's a better word for that. But those are jobs that we need like all the time. One of our television stations here in Indianapolis has been doing segments every week about jobs that need to be filled in Indiana. And one of them is HVAC. Like, the guy at one of the local companies, like, he gives like classes on it, and he says, I don't have people to fill the seats. He's like, if you come and take the classes and do the work, you know, to become certified, become an HVAC technician, that's it. He was like, I can guarantee you'll have a job, but I can't even get enough people in the seats. So if that's something that you want to do, that's great, because we're always going to need people who can fix our heat and our air conditioning. We're always going to need people to fix our cars. We're always going to need people to fix our toilets. We're always going to need people to fix appliances. So if that's something you love to work with your hands, and that's something you love to do, find an apprenticeship program, go to a trade school, get a mentor, something like that to help you to learn all the skills that you need and to get that background knowledge, and then you can like maybe start your own business. You know, get a good mentor who can teach you those things, plus also the business side of it, so they can help you learn how to run your business. Or maybe you can go take some online things with like business classes if you decide to open your own business, just to get some background knowledge. But there's nothing wrong with not going to college, period. It's okay. You know, and if you're in middle school, junior high, and you're watching this, don't think that like, oh, I have to stay on this one career path for the rest of your life, because like I said, the jobs that you're going to end up with haven't even been thought up yet. So my thing for people who are in high school, like early high school, middle school, is to explore lots of different areas. Don't just think, oh, I think I'm going to be a math major. I'm going to go to I'm going to go to college and study math. Don't just focus on one thing. Like, try to get some of those electives in that, you know, things that you really like. Maybe you have an AV club at your school. Maybe there are classes on developing apps. Maybe there are classes on videography. Maybe there are classes on scuba diving. Don't just focus on one thing. Be really well-rounded, because that will help you not only just in the world itself. Just being well-rounded and knowing lots of different things is really important, but also, you know, maybe it ends up that you really don't like math, or you don't enjoy it. You're really good at it, but it doesn't bring you any joy. That's fine, because you have other things that you've dabbled in, and that's great. Don't feel like just because like, oh, I'm really good at math, I have to do math for the rest of my life, because you don't. You don't. Pure and simple. You can change your mind anytime. Now, can you like wake up tomorrow and decide like, I'm going to be a doctor? Well, you can, but you obviously would have to go and have lots of schooling and, residency programs and other things. But if that's a dream, go for it. But if you're in med school right now and you're like, this is not what I want to do, but I'm going to keep going to med school because I got accepted. Life is short. Now, don't quit med school just because you heard me say that, but, life is short, too short to be in a career that you don't necessarily love. I think about, when I go to Aruba, the lady, who's my host, I call her my host mom, my Airbnb, her name is Miriam. And I said, Miriam, what do you do? What do you do for a job here on the island? And she says, well, I worked for the telephone company for 25 years. I was like, oh, really? She said, yeah. But I quit. I was like, oh, really? And she said, yep, I quit. And I was like, well, why did you quit the telephone company? And she said, well, we built our house, and our house is in a new development on the island, in an area that had not had any houses built on it. So their house is like a year and a half old. She said, we built this house, we were designing the house, and Airbnb was starting to be a thing here on the island, and I wanted to have an Airbnb suite. So her husband's like, let's do it. So they have a suite on the back of their house, has its own, entrance and everything. They told people, like, when they were building a house, like, oh, we're going to have an Airbnb suite. And people were like, Miriam, you're crazy. You're never going to make any money. Nobody wants to stay that far out on the island. You're just wasting your money. And she was like, we're just going to try it. She said, because even if it didn't work, they had an extra room, if they have family coming or whatever, they had a studio apartment where people could come and stay. So fast forward a year, after they had moved in, their Airbnb was the studio was always being rented out, like, consistently throughout the year. They built a casino because they had enough land. They built an extra, like, freestanding structure, has a kitchen. It's a studio, but a little bit bigger. That studio is being rented out consistently. She said, Heather, I was so busy with my Airbnb, just the bookings, making sure the houses, making sure, both places were cleaned. I had to hire somebody to come and clean because I couldn't even keep up with it. And she said, then I realized, Miriam, this is crazy. This is a job. You are making money here by doing something that you really like. So then she decided that she just was going to quit her job. And people are like, Miriam, you're crazy. You have benefits. You have vacation. You've been here 25 years. And she's like, but I don't love it. And she said, I wanted to do something I loved. So she quit the phone company. She has both her Airbnbs. She drives a taxi for a few hours a day. Just picks up people at the airport and takes them to the hotels, and then picks them up from the hotels and takes them back to the airport. And she works as a DJ at a local radio station for a couple hours a day in between her taxis. So she said, I'm doing something I love. I found my joy. I found my happiness. Life is too short to not find your happy, to do something that you love. So that's what I'm going to leave you with, is life is short, so find something that makes you happy. And it might not be something that makes any sense to anyone else. It may not even be a job that exists at this moment in time, but find something that makes you happy. It makes you look forward to getting up every day and gives you a purpose in life. So if that's a doctor, if that's a plumber, if that's an electrician, if it's a social media manager, if it's some job that doesn't even exist right now, go and find the things that make you happy. Learn to do them really well. Market those to employers and have fun with it. Life's a journey. It's going to change all the time. But if you find you're happy, definitely you will succeed. So that's what I want to tell you today, Divas. If you have any questions, leave them down below. I'm also going to link in the description box a little TED Talk that I found last week by Emilie. I'm going to butcher your last name, Emilie. I'm so sorry. Wapnick or Wapnick? Wapnick. Sorry, Emilie. I really enjoyed your TED Talk, and now I can't remember how you said your last name. Her TED Talk is on why some of us don't have one true calling. So that might be you. Definitely was Emilie's case. So yeah, definitely go and watch her TED Talk. It was really good. And I will see you in the next one. Thanks a lot. Bye.